Okay, PJ Net Live on Wednesday night. We are going to talk about stupid signs. Everybody buckle your seatbelts. We've got Michelle in the green room. We've got 1,000 funny signs ready. We've got a mountain background. We'll go to Studio 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome to PJ Net Live. If you have had any beverages in the past half hour, I advise you to go ahead and take a little potty break right now, because you are about to laugh like you haven't laughed in a long time. And I'm going to get right to it and bring Michelle Medlock Adams, who has been on vacation. If you've been following her on social media, you already know that. But in her vacationing, she saw a lot of things. We talked about some of the beautiful nature
we did.
That you saw last week in the great state of Florida. But included in the great things in the great state of Florida, there are also stupid things. Tell us about your encounter near, just tell us what you saw.
Yes, so we had a great vacation. Even though it was hot, we fished, and we had such a beautiful time there in the Mount Dora, Florida area. And as we were driving back, pulling the boat, it's like a 13, 14-hour trip for us. And you look at all the signs. We were somewhere out, I think around Gainesville. I'm not sure. But I looked to the right of the car, and both Jeff and I just started laughing. There was like a no parking sign every 5 feet. There must have been 30 to 40 no parking signs every 5 feet. Jeff right on cue goes, "I don't think they want you to park there." Well, I actually spit my drink out. Like, it was just like ridiculous. Like, I think that might be overkill. I don't know how much that cost the taxpayers right there, but I'm pretty sure that was a lot of money. One just wouldn't get it. They needed to have 30. And so I couldn't help myself. I had to take a picture and post about it on Facebook and Instagram. But, then there's always like a little spiritual thing. So because I was like, man, this will preach. Because after I posted it, we were all laughing. I said, this will preach. How many times has God been having these big blinkers or a sign in your life like every 5 feet, and you're just completely ignoring it or whatever? I thought there's a reason that they have those every 5 feet. That means somebody wasn't listening when they only had one or two. And I don't want to be that person with God. Do you? I don't want him to have 30 signs. Michelle.
Yeah. Well,
no parking.
It's like when the alarm bells are going off in your head. You just snip the wires. Just ignore. Say no, God. That. I used to get called in to fix a phone system, and it has this alarm, and they'll say, can that alarm is very annoying. I said, yes, it's intended to be.
Yes.
It's,
there's a reason it's annoying, yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason. But we have put together a wonderful collection of stupid signs. I believe this is the easiest assignment in the world. Just Google it. I assume that these are authentic, but some of them are so stupid they're hard to believe. It says here, touching wire causes instant death, $200 fine. Only touching the energized wires causes death. Now, speaking of death, this is very serious. On this coat hanger, it says, caution, do not swallow.
So that means somebody actually, at some point, probably tried to swallow a hanger. Why else would they have that?
We live in a very litigious society, and they don't want to get sued. Now, maybe they should put this at some of our immigration detention centers. Above the urinal, caution: do not drink this water. I thought, no, wasn't really on my radar.
No, I never thought that was a water fountain. Not ever. Not one time. No.
Well, you don't have them on your side. You got flowers and stuff,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. No right turn. Right lane must turn right.
That's one of those, like, you just, what do you do then? I guess you can't get a ticket because you can say I was right.
Yeah. Now this one, if it's authentic, it says lane closed to ease congestion. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, gotta wonder who put those out there.
This is for dumb blondes. Please unlock the door before opening.
For dumb blondes. Well, if I was a real blonde, I might be offended, but I'm not. So.
There you go. Now, this one, you got to read the whole thing. Please be safe. Now, so far, so good. Do not stand, sit, climb, or lean on fences. I agree. Because after all, if you fall, animals could eat you, and that might make them sick. Thank you.
So they're not concerned about you, just the
No.
animals. I got
Right.
it.
Yeah, the animals get sick eating humans. This one's outrageous. Caution, water on road during rain. Really?
Imagine that. Oh no.
Surely these have been photoshopped. Here's one. Illiterate. Write for free help. The Illiteracy Foundation, 806 Main Street. I think that's been photoshopped. I really...
That's good.
Now, I've seen those doors that say, alarm will sound if you open this door, but this one says, anyone caught exiting through this door will be asked to leave.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, as a writer, I'm always looking for the grammatical things, the things that are really bad. Like there's a big old grocery store out kind of near Mount Dora, and you know how you like if you're saying this is an aisle, like aisle 5, not like an island, but this aisle 5, aisle 6, and it had all these aisle parkings, and it was ISLE. I kid you not. Huge signage on each of the things. I'm like, oh no. I mean, as a writer, it just hurts your heart. You're like, oh, that's why you always need a proofreader. Always. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to fast forward because this one is not only absurd, it is grammatically incorrect. Ladies' panties, only 88 cents. They're brand new. They've never been used.
I mean, that's good news if they weren't used. Because
Well, how much are the used ones? I mean, they more or less. But grammatically,
wow.
ladies' panties would be the same thing as saying hound dog. It's primary redundancy. That's just absurd. And of course, then we've got if the elevator is out of service, please use the elevator. And this particular gate must be either open or shut at all times.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What else could it be?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Here's another one that's contradictory. Do not enter. Enter only.
Whatever your mood is, just pick one. I got to tell a story on my daughter Allie. When I wrote about this actually because it was so funny. She was living in Los Angeles, and Allie, now she is a true blonde in every sense of that word, but she's actually quite brilliant. Like she was the first accepted to college in her class. She's super smart. She actually was the youngest one in her class. Like she's really smart. So I had to preface the story because if I tell you this, you'll think she's not. But she also is a little bit sometimes scattered like her mother. So we were, she'd been in finals all week. She was in school out in Los Angeles, and her sister and I went to visit her and take her out. So we took her out for, death by chocolate dessert and everything. And we were at this really nice restaurant, and we'd parked in a parking garage somewhere in the Hollywood area. And so when we got to the elevator, she'd run ahead of us. Abby and I were kind of bringing up the rear here. And when we get up to the thing, she goes, we have to take the stairs. And I'm like, we were several flights up. I'm like, why? She goes, well, we can't use the elevator. She's like, it's reserved for firefighters. And I was like, they have an elevator just for firefighters? I'm like, well, that's odd. I mean, I like firefighters, but I don't understand. Of course, we couldn't let it go, but we had to go over and look. And it was the sign, right, that says, in case of fire, you can't go on the elevator.
Don't use the elevator, right.
And yeah, that's a case of you actually have to read the signs to see if they make sense. So Abby and I just pushed the button and told her to get on.
Did I hear you say this was some graduation occasion? What was she
I promise.
What university was this? I need to know.
But I just said it's because of finals. She must have just been really tired. But yeah, we've never let her live that down. I'm sorry, you can't use this elevator. It's just for firefighters. Yeah.
Well, they're getting where they allow service pets now, but back in the old days, it would just say no pets allowed. But if you disobey the sign, at least have them on a leash. I guess that's the.
I guess they assume you're going to disobey. So if you're going to go ahead and just put it on a leash, then that makes sense.
And we're in a day now that I have mixed feelings about this, where people have therapy dogs, and we've almost had entire shows on this. I think dogs are therapeutic, but
For
I'm not.
sure.
I haven't quite bought into the therapy dog thing yet. To make exceptions in public areas for therapy dogs. But nonetheless, if it's a service dog, obviously, we want to make accommodations and show courtesy to those that are not as fortunate as us. But your therapy dog, I'll get real.
I like therapy dogs. Some of them do good work, with some like in the elderly population and stuff. Like if they have some kind of, and also with some of the military or the post-traumatic syndrome, they actually have. If they have the dog,
Yeah.
there's studies. Yes, I mean, I think therapy dogs are a good thing.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. I'm just not
Yeah.
sure about where's the line. I mean, it's where is it? Well, here's one that's a little bit wordy. This is the back door. The front door, well, it's located around back.
Well, of course it is. So, I mean, you think when they'd be writing these that there'd be like some kind of little bell that would go off. They'd be like, maybe there's a better way to say this. I don't know.
Well, it's too many words to begin with. It's
My
just,
goodness.
People aren't going to read a book looking at a sign. But I don't know what the difference is between garbage and trash, but apparently there is a difference. Garbage only, no trash.
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
I had to throw some. I've seen some very interesting signs in front of businesses. One that comes to mind, I was driving through rural Georgia, and there was this place that says, Bob's Radiator Shop, the best place in town to take a leak. But but churches usually have some pretty witty ones.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And here's one from a church: artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity.
That's pretty good.
This could easily have been staged. Toilet paper, unused, 2 for $1.
Well, you get that and the 88-cent panties that were never used right
Well, yeah,
there. That's a,
right.
What a
Well,
deal. Yeah.
and this one I believe is authentic because it is bolted to the fence, and it says "Do not sit on the fence." Well, it's hard to tell from this picture. Let me see if I can just kind of bring that picture down a little bit to show you what's at the top of the fence.
It looks a little pointy.
Yeah, it is a little pointy. I don't think there's any chance of me sitting on that fence.
That would be rather painful.
Right. Now, you got to be careful these days. Here's a restroom, and if the door is locked, what that means is somebody's already in there.
Well, yes, that's right.
Here's another one that I believe this is real. Where you kind of the shopping cart corral,
Yes.
and it's got instructions. Remove your
Make
children.
sure you take your kid with you. That's right.
I should have got one that's dead serious that I've
Oh, my
always thought
gosh.
funny. You go into the restroom area, and they've got this little baby changing station.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always kind of looked at that. First of all, you don't see that in the men's side very often, but I've always looked at that and thought, first of all, there's no baby to change. I mean, I thought it was like a baby exchange. And even if there were a baby, it's like, well, I'm pretty satisfied with mine. I think I'll just keep it, a little
Don't want
longer.
to change it.
Right, yeah. Here's another one that I believe to be original and unretouched. We've got an old fashioned drive through. They offer cheeseburgers with guess what?
I mean, I can't really. That's again. This is my other daughter. When we went to Sonic one time, she said, "I'll have the BLT without the LNT." There was a long pause. The lady said, "So you want a bacon sandwich?" She's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to like duck my head as we drove through. Like, yeah, BLT without the LNT. Thank you for that.
Yeah, there you go. Now, apparently, I don't know in what context there is a fire, but they have, since there is a fire, they have taken the precaution of putting some kind of fence around it, but they added the sign, caution, the fire is, well, hot.
Never would have guessed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the law requires anything that has peanut or peanut products in it, that has a disclaimer, because some people are deathly allergic to them.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wonder if you have to go so far as to say these peanuts may contain peanuts.
I bet they do. If I was a betting gal, I'd say they probably do. Eat at your own risk and enjoy. Yeah.
And speaking of disclaimers, you may be at risk for throat cancer if you, and then there's several conditions, one of which is have a throat or a mouth.
I guess that would be a prerequisite for having that. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Have you ever met anybody without a throat or a mouth?
Not lately, anyway. No.
Okay. But disclaimers, again, are legally required. These particular work gloves are only for use during the day or during the night.
Okay. I think you'll be all right then.
And here's one taken in a children's school cafeteria. Food is an important part of a balanced diet.
I mean, I guess they've been eating Play-Doh or something other than that. Is that right?
What were they doing? Eating the forks and knives and plates? I don't know.
I don't know either.
And again, signs are required because of liability. When you've got, every time I turn on the television, there's some lawyer telling me that I can make some money, or I'm entitled to financial compensation. So this is why you find these signs all over the place, including this one. Do not breathe under the water. Well, thank you for that advice. I think that should be posted at every single swimming pool. And
it may be.
I used to own a racket and swim club, and we had some 10-year-old swimming classes. Mm-hmm. So there must have been a dozen students out there, and the lifeguard is lecturing them before they get started, and they said, please do, if you pee in this pool, the water's been treated with a chemical that will have a purple trail leading right to you. And one girl said,
What's her name, Allie? I'm thinking on my little sweet girl. I'll tell you one on my friend Bethany that was on the show a couple weeks ago, but we had that technical difficulty. There was a big old storm coming through. But Bethany and I were business partners and co-authors on several books, and she is very smart. She's getting her master's degree in marketing. But she's not very good with directions. Neither am I, but she's worse. But we were in a group text. She was, all of us, our serious writer, are pretty close. Like,
you're going to talk serious writers now that we've.
Yeah, there we go. Serious writers. Yeah. So Dell and Kyle and Kyle's wife Patty and a bunch of us were all Cody, all of us on this group text. So Bethany gets out west. She was going out there to meet her mom, and they were going to, I guess, drive back to the Midwest where her mom was from. And she gets out there. She's got the boys in the back there in the van, and she wants to get out and to take a rest stop with the boys. With the boys, you have to go and make sure everybody goes to the bathroom at rest stops. So she's like, oh no, and she takes a picture of the sign. I wish I had it. It's on my phone, but I can't show you. But it's a picture of the sign, and it says danger, and then it says cuidado, and there's a picture of a snake. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I don't know, but there must be cuidados everywhere because there is a sign that says beware, danger, cuidados. And she's dead serious, and we're all like, ah. It's like, I guess she didn't take that in, no Spanish. I don't know, but so now we've told this many times at our conferences. So anytime anybody sees a sign with cuidado, they'll be like, oh my gosh, Bethany, we look out for the cuidados. And she gets hundreds of these text messages of people showing her these signs from all over the United States. She'll never live it down. Yeah, she thought that was what a snake was called. I can't help her. I don't know.
I think it's Kiwi-Dod, but nonetheless, I find an irony that they are called restrooms. Now, I've been pretty tired, and no matter how tired I get, I've never really been able to rest in a restroom, to get some sleep, Why do we call them that? I don't go there because I'm tired.
No, no. But you probably wouldn't want to call it what what you do there.
Well, in Europe they call it the WC, which is the wash closet. And in Spanish it's
Yeah,
el baño. It's like the banjo. What are you doing there playing a banjo? I
yeah.
don't know.
I remember very little about Spanish, but I do remember that because I knew that was important to. And I
Right.
remember chicle was gum. I got in trouble for having gum a lot, but that's about the only things I remember.
Chicle. Good Lord. It's like
It's true.
chiclets. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's French for
no
chiclet.
chicle.
Yeah. That's French. Um,
Goodness.
I'm trying to. We wanted to make a serious point. We wanted to have some fun too.
Yeah.
But I made a video one time that talked about, well, it showed animals being rescued, and of course they resist their rescuer because they don't understand. And I said, but we're smarter than that. And I thought, really? Are we? Because anytime we find ourselves in trouble, there were signs along the way,
Oh,
but we ignored them. We're it's not that we didn't read them or didn't acknowledge. We literally chose, and then when we get in trouble, then we blame someone else. You know, folks, what? Just take a step back. Now, I've been told this: if people only knew. I get a lot of these political activists. We've got to inform the public about this. The horrible law or something. And I said, inform. The fat person knows they're fat. The smoker knows they shouldn't smoke. Okay, I'm not an advocate of ignorance, but information's not enough, is it?
no, I think one thing I was thinking about as we were talking about all these signs, I know God, it says in the Bible that He will direct our steps. I mean, it says that
Yeah,
clearly, and
it
and
does.
and it says, "My sheep hear my voice," and for believers, we're His sheep. So I know that we hear from God, and I know He directs our steps, and I can stand on those promises. But I think sometimes I I think sometimes I need a little extra help, so I will actually oftentimes pray, Lord, I just need I don't need you to come down from heaven and appear in my living room. That would probably freak me out anyway. But I would love it if you would can you just give me a sign of some sort? Just can you just let me know that I'm making the right decision? Close this door if I'm not supposed to go through it, or open this door over here so it's like blinking lights, so I know for sure this is your will, because I don't want to step outside of your will. And I will I'll pray, pretty specifically, and I'll share this story with you because I think we have time. When Jeff and I were getting ready to move to Texas, I accepted a job, or I wanted to accept a job. I'd been offered a job to write for this Christian magazine out there. But we were born and raised in the southern Indiana, and our parents lived here. We were high school sweethearts. Our whole life, all of our friends were here. Going to Texas didn't seem that was never on the radar. But I really was sure that I'd heard God about this. But so I was telling God, you're gonna have to tell Jeff if you want us to go, because I don't, I'm not. He's the spiritual leader of our house. I need him to hear from you. And so we talked about it at length, what it would mean for the family. And our girls were real little; they were like 1 and 3.
Mm.
And he said he was a partner in a CPA firm here, and he said it would be it's career suicide for me to move. I mean, this is crazy. I'd start back at the bottom. And I'm like, nope, God doesn't do things that way for one person, not the other. But I'm like, just pray about it. Well, it got to the point where if I would even bring it up, it would cause tension. So I just quit talking about it, and basically my verse became be still and know I'm God. That was my theme
Hmm.
verse, just be still and know I'm God, let me work it out. So it was I knew that they weren't going to hold the job for me for much longer. It'd been a couple of months, and this it was during cold and flu season. I remember this, and I was going to Sunday night church. I was taking the girls, and Jeff wasn't feeling well. He actually had strep throat, we didn't know, but he stayed home because he didn't feel well. So he was downstairs in a lazy boy, and I left him with the I always call it the flicker, but the remote control.
Hmm.
I'm like, here, if you want to watch anything. And I, made sure he had liquids, everything before we left. So while I was gone, I was just praying, Lord, just talk to him, because he's going to be laying there. We can't really get up much. Just be talking to him. And when I got back from church, and I put the girls to bed. He was wider than he was when I left, and I'm like, I thought he was really sick, and it wasn't. He just really heard from God. Now listen to this. Only God can do this. So we've been talking about Texas, but we hadn't talked in a while about it because it made him upset. So I guess while I was gone, he said to the Lord, Lord, if we're supposed to move to Texas, which we did, we ended up going, we were there 10 years. Lord, if we're supposed to move to Texas, I just need you to be real clear with me, because, my wife thinks we're supposed to go, and I'm just not feeling it, Lord. And turn the TV on. This is exactly, the group, Little Texas, that group.
No,
Got,
can't
well,
think of it.
they sing a song, "God Bless Texas," that was really big at the time. Well, that's what it was on. It was on CMT, and that group was on Little Texas singing "God Bless Texas." So he was like, "Okay, that's just a fluke." So he changed the channel, and it went to the news. And it was a time when Oprah was in some kind of a big beef trial in Texas. It was going on. It was all in Texas, and the whole thing was about that. And he was like, "Okay, well, he just changed it one more time, and it was about storms moving through Texas on the Weather Channel." And he was like, So he turned it off. He's like, "Lord, if you have a sense of humor, I mean, I'm really feeling that. But if this is you, I just need you to be really clear." And the next night, we went out to eat with our good friends, Myra and Jeff Nykirk, and we were set like I think it was like a Fridays, and they have all these different license plates and things on the wall. It's like all this cool paraphernalia. And the place that they sat us down in this booth, right above our booth was this Texas license plate. Jeff looked over and he just shook his head. He was like, "All right, I give up. That's it." And so
Yeah.
I actually took a picture of that Texas license plate, because I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it was just, I think sometimes, we can ask for. We can ask for signs. Lord, I need a sign. I just need to know that I'm in Your will. And every time I've done that in my life, God's been faithful to do that. So I thought that was how we got to Texas. Really, we probably wouldn't have ever gone had God not dealt with Jeff in that way, in a way that he could receive it.
Well, put it this way, from the sounds of it, if you didn't go to Texas, God was going to bring Texas to you. So,
I think you're right.
Yeah. Actually, there is a biblical account where a person, Gideon, was wrestling with a decision and asked God for a sign. And he put a fleece out said, "Lord, if this fleece is," and I may get this backwards, go read it yourself, but basically, so I was going to teach this lesson in a small group Bible class at my church. And I said, "Folks, I had 2 lesson plans today, and I really was struggling with which one to use. So what I did is said, Lord, if you want me to use, I'm going to put out a fleece tonight. And if you want me to use lesson A, the fleece will be wet in the morning. If the fleece is dry in the morning, I will know to use lesson plan B." And I went out this morning and looked for the fleece, and it was gone. It was gone. So. But no, the other thing that I struggle with is sometimes, let's say you're about to do something presumably for the good of the kingdom. All right, which I get all these ideas, going to help God out. Okay, so you've got an idea, you feel called by God to do it, and some obstacle pops up. Something goes wrong. Now, is that Satan putting a rock in your path? Or is that God saying, "Hey, this wasn't my idea, this was your idea. Get off this path."
Right.
And when people come to me seeking help on that kind of thing, there's no verse I can point to. I tell them that and say, all I can tell you is you better have your prayer life in order. And you better be listening to God, because I cannot tell you, what God's telling you. I can tell you Scripture. If what you're about to do would be counter to the Scripture, I can tell you that's not God's idea. Yeah. But if what you're doing is consistent with the Scriptures, and but men in particular have a thing to do good works for God, that we're when I really, well, I won't get too theological, but that's tough. There are signs when we're about to transgress. God fills us with the Holy Spirit. We right. know. People say, "Oh, I stumbled into sin." No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You decided to sin. Okay.
Because you'll get that little check in your spirit, as they call it. You'll get that.
I just woke up in bed one morning with some woman who wasn't my wife. Really? I don't think so. I think that was, you decided to do that. But God does help us, and we need to watch the signs and heed the signs. God didn't put the sign up there to. I saw a post on Facebook the other day. "I don't like all these boundaries and fences," and said, "It's a guardrail. You're about to go over the cliff." Okay.
There's a reason. That's right.
Yeah. There's a reason parents don't let their children play in the streets. It's not that they want to deny it. We think of God as like this cosmic killjoy out there. No. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to have fun.
I agree. I
But it,
think the thing is whenever I like what you said about you don't know if it's God or is it Satan. I think a lot of
mhm.
times the devil gets blamed for things that maybe he didn't even cause. But I think it's really important at that point if you're not sure is just to keep. I always just say keep walking the path that you feel where God is leading you, and then he'll either confirm it or deny it. I mean, as we practice, there's a book called Practicing His Presence. As we practice being in His presence, you'll know His voice above all others.
Right.
I once and I think people, because I've often had people when I'm out teaching in different places ask me, well, how do you know if it's God? It's kind of like, I mean, that's hard to answer. You just know it is. I mean, it's sort of like when, if there's somebody that you really like in the entertainment industry. For instance, my daughters grew up watching Doris Day movies with me. We loved Doris Day. She just passed not too long ago. She was in her 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Just an amazing lady. And she had a real distinctive voice. She was a beautiful singer, a great actress, so funny. And so they grew up on those movies because I grew up on those movies. So we watched those all the time together, especially on rainy days. Well, one day I put the girls out. It was movie night. I let them stay in the little TV room, and it was like they were like 7 and 9. They were in there and spend the night, and we'd already gone to bed. And I let them watch the movies. I picked out some movies they could watch. Well, at the end of this one movie called Ants, there was a song called High Hopes. Remember that song, High Hopes? Well, it was one that Doris Day. It was a version she had sung. Now she wasn't in the movie, obviously. It was an animated movie, but she was on the soundtrack. That song that Doris Day sang was at the end of the movie. And Abby immediately knew that was Doris Day. She ran in and woke me up, and I felt her hot breath on my face. I'm like, "What's going on?" And she said, "Mommy, Doris Day. She's singing in the movie." And I thought, I'm pretty sure Doris Day wasn't an Ants. So I go in there and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it is Doris Day. She knew her voice." And when I went back, I thought, boy, I hope that I'm teaching my girls to know God's voice as well as I'm teaching them to know Doris Day's voice. Like, I hope that they are growing up knowing the Lord's voice and that they are the sheep that they hear the shepherd's voice. And I've thought about that many times. So when people ask me, well, how do you know if it's God? You'll just know because we know His voice. And the more you practice being His presence, the more you'll get to know His voice. And so when you get to that rock in the road, you'll know if it's God or not. You'll know if it's God shutting the door. And here's the other thing. I love what Joyce Myers always says. If you get on the wrong path and you get lost, He'll find you. Because she was worried about that too. She's like, "Lord, what if I step out in faith and I go the wrong way?" And He said, "Joyce, I know where you are. I'll find you." And that gives me great comfort. So if I'm doing what, like you said, I'm stepping out for God because I got this great idea, something that I want to do for Him. It's the wrong path. It's not like I'm gonna, He's not gonna zap me or something. It's just He's gonna direct me back up on the path He has for me. I don't have to, go back to start. He just puts you right back up there because He's a loving God, full of grace. So I know that that's a concern of people, but really it shouldn't be, because the more time you spend in the Word and praying and in His presence, you'll know it. You'll know His voice as well as you know your spouse's voice or your best friend's voice.
I know my wife's footsteps in the house.
Yeah.
I literally do. And it's a
Jeff
good
says,
thing.
well, that Jeff said the same thing. Whenever I'm coming off an airplane, he always picks me up at Indianapolis Airport. And, I walk down the hall and you can't see who's walking in the hall. There's the place where you wait's over here. And he says, "I always know if it's you because I'm usually in heels and I have short legs." So they're, I was pretty. He said,
I know.
He said, "I always know
You just
that
know.
it's you." Yeah. See.
Yeah. You just know. And the time to get to know God is before the crisis.
Amen.
And so many people. Well, the good thing is they do turn to the church in crisis. Many run from the church when they need it the most, but at least they turn to the church. But we can't undo the consequences of your choices. God's a loving God and forgiving God, but He doesn't promise to cause us not to suffer consequences of our own decisions. But Michelle, it has been a fun night. You're a fun person to be around, I'm sure. And I'm looking forward. I sent a letter to Angie last night, an email requesting me and my daughter to be given credentials and admission to the North Carolina Christian Writers Conference.
Yes.
And I hope that request will be honored. And I even put in there that I think there's going to be meals. I don't expect free meals. Just tell me how much, what to pay.
Listen, and they can cook. These people can cook. This is the nicest group
It's
of
a
people.
Baptist church. I know this.
They are amazing. I mean, I gained like 4 pounds last year. I'm like, quit feeding me. It was the best food ever. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
If it's a Baptist church, I'm not worried about food. There will be.
Yes, plenty of it.
You bet. Michelle, this has been fun. I hope we have this much fun again next week. Look forward to seeing you then. And until then, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for giving your time. You have uplifted all of us tonight and
Aw.
made our hearts smile. So we appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having me.
All righty. I've made some changes to the studio here. Let me. I can't make it work. Okay, hold on. I'm scrolling the little thumb ball there, and I will. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Well, Michelle's pretty photogenic. She can just sit there and just, where I'm not, and you knew that. Folks, we had a great time tonight. I hope you did too. And hey, be watching on Facebook and Twitter. We are simultaneously now recording as we're streaming so that I can produce the 45-second highlight videos, which are doing kind of well. And so we hope to have that out by midnight. And we're just glad you're here. We're going to have some more fun as we continue right here on PJ Net Live.